What do you love about the planet Earth?
So I love how it's super beautiful, very diverse. So there's so many different types of beautiful places. And I think our earth and nature is a teacher and our caretaker.
I love how you get outside and play with other people, have so much fun riding bikes, love with people, playing, have so much fun, joining with them if you like it. You choose what you won't do.
A lot of things about nature, but my favorite thing is the sunrise, the dawn, first thing in the morning, to be out there when the sky starts to go gray and get to see the sky light up. That's my absolute favorite.
I love how in nature you're never bored. There's always trees, rocks, and sticks you can build and play with. I remember a time when we were on the butterfly trail and a big one landed on my hand. Magical. It was just a big butterfly. I love enjoying nature with others and observing it and seeing what things it can create and how just beautiful it can be.
The animals are beautiful, and you get to have you get to have a fun time when you're in nature. You could do all kinds of stuff in nature if you treat it right. Times I was in nature and I loved it is when I was walking through the creek bare feet, and I felt the moss, the wet moss, the mud, the rocks. It felt good because nature comforts you.
The planet Earth is not only home to us, but is home to plants and animals, and has been around for nearly 4.5 billion years. It's the only planet in the known universe that can support life, and has a beautiful way of keeping itself perfectly balanced. However, there are dangers that are facing our planet today.
What's the biggest danger facing the planet?
I would say apathy, that people don't care enough to take the time to utilize their resources to the best of their ability, and so we create a lot of waste in our society.
What's the biggest danger you see facing the planet?
Climate change.
What do you think the biggest danger is facing the planet?
So my personal opinion is humans. Just because of the way we're living right now, we are hurting our earth and the thing that supports us, which is very unfortunate. We haven't always been that way. So a lot of indigenous communities were very sustainable. They had very great values of respecting the earth and understood that they obviously relied on it. But with globalization and the Industrial Revolution, our values have kind of steered a lot from that. And so currently our dominant values are, very individualistic, money-driven, growth-driven, which is really starting to destroy our planet, which we heavily rely on.
Some of the dangers facing our planet are pollution, trash, and loss of habitat.
It's not just a threat to the planet, it's a threat to us.
Luckily, there are 3 major things we can do to help the earth.
Make less waste. Feel fossil fuels.
Conserve nature.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Is there any tips or ideas you have about helping the earth?
Yeah, so there's a lot of small things that you can do, and by doing that, I think it shows other people that it's not that hard to, change some small things that might seem inconvenient at first, but they end up being really easy, such as, using reusable grocery bags, going to refill bars when you can, shopping in bulk, so filling up, oats or beans or whatever it is at grocery stores if you can, so you're limiting your plastic use consumption, recycling what you can, especially glass and aluminum can be recycled for a very long time, and they don't the quality doesn't degrade as fast like plastic.
Another great way to help the earth is to buy only what you need and to use what you have. When you do have waste, put it where it goes. You can use kitchen scraps to make compost for your garden or to feed chickens. You can recycle plastics, glass, and aluminum. A lot of single-use plastic ends up in the ocean. By bringing your own reusables, you can cut down on thousands of pieces of plastic going into the environment every year.
Big one ball diffuse. Put trash where it belongs.
When we were talking to our friend LJ, we learned about fossil fuels and how they affect climate change.
How do fossils affect the earth today?
One way that fossils affect the earth today, this might be a bit of a stretch, but I just automatically think of fossil fuels. Technically, fossil fuels like gasoline and oil are fossils. They're called chemical fossils. They affect the earth today by parts of them going into the atmosphere when we burn them.
How do we get energy from dinosaurs?
So that getting energy from dinosaurs is actually kind of what's called an urban myth. So dinosaurs don't make fossil fuels, but little tiny animals that live in the ocean called plankton are what form oil, and fossil plants make coal. Those are fuels that people use today.
How is the earth different today than it was when dinosaurs lived?
The earth is different today compared to when the dinosaurs lived by being actually colder. It's a fair amount colder, and the continents are actually in different places too.
When the dinosaurs died, did it affect the earth?
It did. When the dinosaurs died, all of them except for the birds are gone and a whole bunch of other animals, and it gave a lot of extra space on earth for new animals to evolve. So it did affect the earth that way.
Why did the dinosaurs die?
So it's not 100% solved why the dinosaurs died, but the best idea that I agree with was there was a big meteor that hit near Mexico. It was about the size of Mount Everest, and it hit out in the ocean near Mexico, and it caused, this word again, climate change, where you had all this debris and dust that was thrown into the air. It caused a lot of fires, and then the dust in the air blocked sunlight, and plants weren't able to get sunlight to survive. And then the plants died, which means the plant eaters didn't have food. And then when the plant eaters were all dead, the meat eaters had a bunch of food, but then they started to run out of food too. And there went the dinosaurs.
I don't want what happened to the dinosaurs to happen to us, but I needed to understand how releasing carbon through fossil fuels affects the atmosphere better. So I asked Colette.
How is carbon harming our environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. So 2 of the most potent and harmful greenhouse gases are carbon and methane. And carbon lasts in the atmosphere a lot longer, about an average of 100 years, and it absorbs heat over that 100 years. So the carbon we put in the atmosphere today, we're not going to see that effects of the warming it will have until years down the road. Methane it only lasts in the environment about 7 years, but it's much more potent. It absorbs a lot more heat than carbon. But carbon definitely is the most harmful overall because it lasts in the environment much longer than methane. And we know from scientists, we actually know a certain amount of carbon that can be in the environment before we're going to start seeing more drastic changes, and maybe changes that we can't really reverse as much so as we can now. So it's really important that we start taking action as soon as we can, from pulling carbon out from the environment and also using renewable energy. Those are going to be the best ways to mitigate climate change costs.
Some ways kids can help use fewer fossil fuels are to use less electricity by turning off the lights and electronics when we are not using them. Spend more time playing outside, less time in front of a screen, and always remember to close your door when you go outside.
Ride your bike more often.
Another thing kids can do is ride their bike, walk, carpool, or take public transportation. One big way that fossil fuels are used is in food production and transportation. We spoke with Dan Christman to learn more.
I'm Dan Christman. I own and operate the Homestead Institute here in Idaho, where we grow vegetables and teach people to grow more of their own food and be self-sufficient.
Could growing our own food help the planet?
Yes, it can. It minimizes the use of fossil fuels.
What made you start farming?
I started farming because most of the vegetables we eat in this part of the world are grown in Mexico or California. And I felt like we needed more local vegetable supply, and people needed to know how to grow more of their own food.
The water, air, and soil quality?
Yes, the water, air, and soil quality does matter when you're growing plants. All of it matters, but especially the soil. Sometimes we just think of it as dirt, but there's a lot more to it than just the dirt. And if you have good soil, your plants grow way better, and they also are more nutritious to eat.
Do you have that kind of soil?
I do not have as good of soil as I would like. So I farm in some really awesome soil, and I'm working on getting mine better. I keep putting more organic matter in it and growing cover crops and trying to take care of it. But it's improving.
What's something you could do to make the soil better?
So there's a lot of things. Soil does not like to be bare. So having either mulch or something growing in it is a really good thing. And to grow a plant that you can then till into the ground, that's what I just call the cover crop, often puts more nitrogen and things into the soil without a synthetic fertilizer.
How do you help the planet by farming?
Well, I think anything anyone does to have their hands in the dirt and be involved with where their needs come from helps the planet. Instead of just expecting someone else to grow it and give it to you, it helps us appreciate it more.
What's your favorite part of farming?
That's a hard one. I think for me it's harvesting the things that I grow and seeing all that work come to something that I can enjoy or someone else can enjoy.
Is there any misconceptions about farmers?
I think there are. One is that they are not very educated and they're just out there working. But often farmers study a lot to do what they do.
How does pollution harm the farm?
Ultimately, pollution, the biggest way it harms the farm is it harms the soil we were talking about. It kills a lot of the microbial life, the little bugs that live in the dirt and the soil, so that they can't help your plants grow as well.
Could kids be farmers?
Absolutely. I actually know a man who started really running a farm when he was 11. He actually hired employees and went to farmers markets to sell his produce. And that was pretty much on his own at that age. But even if you don't go that large of scale, you can still farm. My kids all have gardens.
Learning how to connect with the earth through farming and protecting it by eating local was fun, but I wanted to dive deeper into the conservation.
What does conservation mean and why is it important?
So conservation means only taking what you need and just maintaining the value of a constant resource. And so what we've been doing now is we've just been taking resources like they're unlimited when in fact we live on a very finite planet. So we need to make sure we're figuring out how to not destroy a constant resource of flow, if that makes sense.
It does. What does conservation mean and why is it important?
Conservation means you take care of the things you have. And it's important because there's not an infinite amount of things and there's only so much. So you want to take care of it and share it so other people can use it too, and so it's around later in the future.
Can you name a resource that we're taking too much of?
Yes, so for example, we're just tearing down, deforesting the Amazon rainforest, so it's really affecting all of the different species, and just we aren't able to maintain the needs that we need to survive that are coming from the value of the Amazon rainforest.
What are a few things that are in the Amazon rainforest that are so crucial for us?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are actually deforesting a lot of land for actually agricultural purposes, which is actually hurting a lot of different species. We are gaining some value from it because we're, planting palm oil or whatever it is that we are needing to plant there, but we're hurting the resources that the rainforest provides for us in the long run. And the rainforest provides, it helps with different weather cycles and water conservation, and so there's a lot of different values that the rainforest brings, but when we're deforesting too much of it, it hurts us in the long run.
Do people have any misconceptions about environmentalists?
Yeah, I think people do have misconceptions of environmentalists, just because I think the misconception is maybe like, oh, they're trying to ruin the economy, or maybe stopping me from getting rich, or whatever it is. But that's really not the case. Sustainability is really all about meeting all three factors, which are social justice, economic, stability, and environmental sustainability. And so I think when sometimes people are like, oh, those annoying environmentalists or whatever, they're trying to, make us lose our jobs or hurt the economy or whatever, but that's definitely not the case. That is not what sustainability is. And just from my personal experience, learning and studying sustainability, I found really that I think one person can find something that they're really passionate about with the environment, because we are connected to the environment in everything we do, every product we make, how our systems work. And so whatever someone's passionate about, whether it's engineering like you, Dodge, or fashion, food, they can find a way to tie that in with sustainability and really become an environmentalist in what they're passionate about by tying in the sustainability with what their work is.
Are there any new technologies that are coming out that you think are actually good for the earth?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. I mean, we have a lot of potential for renewable energy. For example, here in Utah, we have a lot of solar energy and geothermal energy that's not being utilized really whatsoever. But there's, solar panels, there's wind farms, we can take advantage of geothermal energy and ocean energy. And there's a lot of certain plants that also help decarbonize the environment. They take in carbon naturally, not just trees, but like sea plants, or some sea plants actually bring in so much more carbon than just regular trees. So there's a lot of great technology that's going on to utilize renewable energy sources and also to help take out carbon from the environment that's warming our earth as well.
Feeling inspired to become more sustainable in our own way, we asked our interviewees what kids can do to help the earth.
What's one thing that the kids could help to do the earth?
I'd say plant trees, pick up garbage, and just enjoy it. I know that's three things, not one thing.
What's one thing kids can do to help the earth?
One thing kids can do to help the earth is to try and use things over and over, and maybe I'd say recycling is a great idea.
What's one thing kids can do to help the earth?
Well, I actually think you're doing a great job currently because you're trying to educate yourself, being involved. So I think the biggest thing for not only kids, but all of us adults too, is just become more educated in climate science and what we're actually doing to the earth, waste issues that we have, energy issues that we have. But I think for kids specifically, I think it's important to study outside in nature, to learn from nature, and learn how to become self-sustainable, learn how to work locally and survive on your local resources, and just learn how to respect the earth and values that essentially are in line with respecting the earth.
Kids can save the planet by use reusable packaging,
Recycling. Pick up trash.
Grow golden.
being mindful about what we use, where it comes from, and where it goes when we are done with it. The planet's amazing, and if we take care of it, it'll take care of us.
Do people have any misconceptions about biodiversity?
Wait, biodiversity.
What? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Trash. Okay. Put trash where it belongs. Whoops.